these stories weren't just legends, because that's what a real lost city looks like.
Setting 1012.
That's Ciudad Perdida, the lost city.
For centuries, the fabled kingdom of El Dorado has teased adventurers and dreamers alike.
It wasn't that far-fetched to imagine that somewhere deep in Amazonia, there was a major civilization.
Now this city of gold has finally been found nestling right in the jungles of South America. From the Great Flood to ancient whispers, the origins of El Dorado have baffled us all. But it looks like scientists might have finally cracked the code. Join us as we take a journey through this expedition and uncover the secrets of El Dorado. Where the legend began, gold has always been the ultimate obsession. From ancient kings hoarding treasures to modern-day treasure hunters risking it all, we've been hooked on its glittering allure. Why? Because gold has always been more than just metal. It's power, wealth, and the promise of something untouchable. But nothing takes gold fever to the next level like the legendary El Dorado. As the stories go, this city of El Dorado is a literal jackpot of gold hidden somewhere in the untamed New World during the 16th and 17th centuries. However, the story of El Dorado wasn't just a legend, it was an obsession, and it sent Europeans on a wild goose chase that spanned oceans and jungles. It all began with one name, Sir Walter Raleigh, a man who was on a mission to make history. With his eyes set on glory, Raleigh had already achieved fame through his daring expeditions, but nothing caught his imagination like the legend of El Dorado. In 1595, Sir Walter Raleigh chased a dream that could make him immortal or destroy him. Whispers of a golden city, richer than imagination, lured him into the uncharted Guiana Highlands. Partnering with Antonio de Berrio, he set off into the wild, driven by ambition and the promise of untold riches.
As conquistadors kept trying to find El Dorado, they found a lot of gold. They found gold work made by the Muisca that was really, really elaborate.
So, what sparked this wild chase? A mysterious tale from Juan Martinez, or Juan Martin de Albujar, who, after an ill-fated journey in 1570, claimed he had been taken to El Dorado by the Caribs. He claimed the city was real, yet when he returned to find it, it had vanished. The mystery was irresistible. Driven by ambition and the allure of glory, Sir Walter Raleigh plunged into the pursuit of El Dorado, only to come up empty-handed. Over the years, the golden legend slipped further into myth. Then, in 1977, the legend took an astonishing twist. Brazilian geologists Gert Wenzel, Frederico Guimarães Cruz, and Roland Stevenson stumbled upon something extraordinary. The remains of a lost lake in northern Brazil, so massive it once spanned 400 kilometers in diameter, covering an area of 88,000 square kilometers. How did they uncover this ancient marvel? By spotting an unmistakable clue, a horizontal line etched into the hillsides marking the water level of a prehistoric lake. The evidence was undeniable. This was no myth. A colossal lake had once thrived here before nature reclaimed it. Around 700 years ago, nature began rewriting the story of a colossal lake in northern Brazil. Tectonic shifts slowly drained its waters, and in 1690, a catastrophic earthquake delivered the final blow. A massive rift opened, sending the lake's waters rushing into the Rio Branco. By the early 1800s, the lake had vanished entirely, leaving no trace of its once mighty expanse. It was as if it had never existed. But the disappearance of the lake didn't erase the lore it inspired. Over centuries, the legend of El Dorado morphed and grew. What began as a sacred ritual involving gold dust transformed into tales of a fabulously wealthy king, and finally the ultimate treasure, a golden city hidden in the heart of the jungle. There was just one problem, though. None of these stories ever nailed down a location. Then, in 2007, everything changed. The mystery behind Lake Parim.
The legend of El Dorado was born. The Spanish conquistadors, they heard these local tales of a king, here, who was covered in gold dust.
Since 2007, a team of fearless explorers led by Venezuelan archaeologist José Miguel Pérez Gómez has been on a mission to crack the centuries-old mystery of the legendary Lake Parim. First made famous by Sir Walter Raleigh's 1595 expedition, this elusive body of water was said to hold the secret to El Dorado, the fabled Golden City. For centuries, countless adventurers have tried and failed to find it. Then, in October 2019, something incredible happened. At the TerraSAR-X/TandemX science team meeting in Germany, the team unveiled a stunning breakthrough. This wasn't just another search through old maps and dusty records. No, they'd combined ancient stories with the latest in cutting-edge technology. Using NASA's radar, Landsat's advanced mapping tools, and Germany's own TandemX satellite, the team was able to reconstruct the lake as if it had never disappeared. Suddenly, the legend of El Dorado wasn't just a myth. The lake was real, and it was more massive than anyone had imagined. With the help of a super-detailed flood projection model, the team made a jaw-dropping discovery. The lake wasn't just some tiny puddle, it was massive. In fact, it stretched longer than it was wide, matching the exact description from Raleigh's 1595 map. The evidence pointed to a vast, elongated rift lake, just like the one Raleigh had dreamed of centuries ago. But as with many great explorations, the search for El Dorado itself remained elusive. Still, one thing was becoming crystal clear: the Golden City had to be somewhere in South America. Why else would so many archaeologists and explorers keep flocking to the region year after year, relentlessly chasing the myth? Then, in 2023, a new chapter began. Albert Lin, armed with the latest technology and determination, launched a dig that would change everything. Albert begins his journey. In Colombia, deep in the heart of Colombia's wild jungles, a legendary tale of gold has been sparking the imagination of explorers for centuries. It all started with whispers of a king covered in gold dust, but the story didn't end there. It grew into something far grander. Stories of entire cities, gleaming with treasure hidden deep within the jungle and nestled high in the mountains. The Spanish, desperate to claim this treasure, spent years searching, but despite their efforts, they came up empty-handed. Why? Because they didn't have the tools we have today. That's where Albert Lin comes in. An American engineer and scientist, Albert was about to rewrite the story. Armed with cutting-edge technology, he wasn't just on a treasure hunt, he was on a mission to bring the lost past back to life. With lasers that could slice through thick jungle canopies, scan vast deserts, and even dive beneath the ocean's surface, Albert had the power to unlock secrets that had been buried for centuries. For centuries, the region was a natural fortress. Steep mountains and thick jungles made it nearly impossible to reach. It was a place locked away from the world, ruled by drug lords and guerrilla fighters, keeping its secrets buried. But then archaeologists cautiously began to return, and the jungle started to give up its treasures. Lost civilizations, once forgotten by time, were slowly being uncovered, revealing their secrets one by one. Setting out on the expedition high in Colombia's Sierra Nevada mountains, Ciudad Perdida had been hidden for over 500 years, safely tucked away by the thick jungle. For centuries, its secrets lay dormant, but now, thanks to modern technology, the lost city was being dragged back into the light faster than anyone could have imagined.
In the clouds! Maybe those Spanish stories weren't just legends, because that's what a real lost city looks like!
Setting 1012.
Santiago Geraldo, who had spent 2 decades at the site, couldn't help but stand in awe. The city was breathtaking, and the fact that it had survived centuries without falling into ruin was nothing short of a miracle. But how did it resurface? It wasn't some grand discovery by an archaeologist, it was the unexpected. Looters, known as the infamous Guacos, were the first to stumble upon Ciudad Perdida, and they unknowingly led archaeologists to its hidden heart. It took nearly a week for the researchers to navigate the jungle and reach the city's core, guided by these treasure hunters. But the real shock came when it was revealed that the looters weren't just after ancient ruins, they were hunting gold. Tensions escalated, with gunfights breaking out as they fought over scraps of treasure. In one shocking moment, a looter walked away with more than 80 pieces of gold from a single burial. The gold wasn't the only treasure, though. Ciudad Perdida, or the Lost City, had been built by the Tairona people who began constructing it around 600 AD. At its peak, it housed 2,000 to 3,000 people, with another 10,000 living in the surrounding highlands. But what truly captivated archaeologists was the mystery of how such an advanced civilization came to be, and why the Tairona chose to build a city so high in the rugged mountains. It had taken over 40 years of meticulous work to clear the site and map out its layout, revealing just how ambitious and sophisticated this ancient city truly was. 40 years of relentless exploration, and it was becoming more and more apparent how grueling and dangerous this journey had been. By 2023, Santiago and his team had just navigated the dense, unforgiving jungle to reach Ciudad Perdida. But their journey wasn't over yet. They were now headed to another recently discovered Tairona site. It was only about 7.5 miles away, but in this terrain, that was a whole different story. After a quick helicopter ride, the team piled into a rugged 4x4 and then trekked through some of the most brutal jungle terrain imaginable. The Tairona had built their cities in nearly unreachable locations, perched high on steep ridges, hidden so cleverly that they had remained a mystery for centuries, right in front of everyone's eyes. As Santiago and Albert pushed deeper into the jungle, the world around them seemed alive with ancient secrets. Thick roots and vines twisted and sprawled across the ground, creating a dense labyrinth of nature's grasp. Santiago moved ahead, leading Albert through the thick undergrowth, his eyes trained for signs of the past. Suddenly, he stopped. His gaze was fixed on a seemingly ordinary pile of rocks, half hidden beneath the weight of the jungle. To an outsider, it looked like just another natural jumble, nothing more than rubble left behind by time. But to Santiago, this was a revelation. He knew that beneath the surface, what appeared to be a pile of stones was in fact a wall from a lost Tairona structure. It was a rare and vital link to a civilization that had once thrived here, now obscured by centuries of growth and decay.
Right there?
The rocks?
See that? Yeah.
Is it a wall?
Yeah, that's a wall.
Wow.
That's a wall. It's a Tairona wall.
This was the true method of uncovering Tairona's ancient cities, not through the dramatic discovery of towering temples or gold-laden altars, but through small, often overlooked clues buried beneath layers of earth, leaves, and time. Each rock, each fragment was a testament to the forgotten world that had once flourished in this remote corner of the jungle. The jungle had concealed these secrets well. Over 400 years of leaf litter, dirt, and plant life had settled on top of the city's structures, making them nearly invisible to all but the most skilled archaeologists. Yet these scattered walls, almost indistinguishable from the surrounding landscape, held the key to unlocking the mystery of the lost Tairona people, what has made exploration possible. The hunt for this lost city had taken nearly 15 years, countless days spent cutting through thick jungle, trekking through treacherous terrain, and chasing whispers of ancient secrets. But Santiago wasn't satisfied with the old ways of discovery. He was ready to embrace the future. The future he believed lay in LIDAR, laser imaging detection and ranging. This wasn't just any tool, it was a game changer. Imagine being able to peel back the dense jungle canopy with technology, revealing hidden structures and paths buried beneath centuries of leaves and dirt. No more spending years digging through the jungle inch by inch. With LiDAR, Santiago could map the entire area digitally in a fraction of the time.
It's literally a city in the clouds. Maybe those Spanish stories weren't just legends, because that's what a real lost city looks like.
Setting 1012.
That's Ciudad Perdida, the lost city.
The LiDAR scanner would fire off 400,000 laser pulses every second, each one measuring distances precisely and creating a 3D map of the land. It was like having a powerful X-ray vision that could see through the thickest trees and unveil what lay hidden below. But there was one big hurdle: the jungle itself. Thick canopies, tangled vines, and nearly impossible terrain had always been the perfect cover for secrets. If the first test scan around Ciudad Perdida worked, it would be a breakthrough that could change everything. They could scan the entire valley and open up a world of possibilities. Tairona has a rich history dipped in gold. The Tairona were a mystery, and their civilization was almost swallowed by time. When the Spanish arrived in the 16th century, they were some of the first outsiders to discover this fascinating society. What they found was a culture dripping in gold and ceremonial treasures, a treasure hunt that would captivate explorers for centuries. You see, the Tairona lived in the rich, fertile lands along Colombia's Caribbean coast, just 15 miles from where the Spanish had first landed, searching for gold. They did find it, of course, gold beyond imagination. One Spanish friar, stunned by the sight, wrote about the Tairona in awe. Every person in their society, from children to elders, wore gold. But this wasn't cheap jewelry. It was stunning, polished, and intricate. The men and women wore feathered ornaments and gleaming gold plaques. Their jewelry, earrings, necklaces, nose rings, crowns was more than decoration. It was a sign of wealth, power, and culture. But the gold that brought them so much pride also brought their downfall.
How many people would have lived here?
About 2,000 to 3,000 at its peak. And then about 10,000 people living in the upper part of the basin.
10,000?
Yeah, all that forest that you see would have been all farmland.
The Spanish, obsessed with treasure, couldn't resist taking what they saw, and they left an indelible mark on the Tairona's history. Now, centuries later, the question remained, what else did the Tairona leave behind? The LiDAR scans would uncover something truly monumental. Back at Ciudad Perdida, the moment they'd been waiting for had finally arrived. The LiDAR test scans were in. The air was thick with anticipation. As the data flickered to life on the screen, everyone watched in stunned silence. The dense, choking jungle that had once obscured the ancient city was gone, replaced by a mesmerizing digital map. There, sprawled across the rugged terrain, was a complex web of paths and terraces, stretching far and wide in every direction. What stood out was the city's openness. No rigid walls, no defined borders. Instead, it was an interconnected labyrinth of spaces, almost like a living organism, designed not just for survival, but for connection. The city seemed to pulse with life, a place where every path led somewhere, each neighborhood linked seamlessly to another.
You know, we could use aerial LiDAR, could have digital model the whole place, then we could remove the trees and see the ground. We could find the pathways, the rock piles, the walls.
That would be amazing. If it does pick up these terraces, it would be really...
Then came the most astonishing revelation. The LiDAR scans allowed them to reconstruct a 3D model of Ciudad Perdida as it had been over 500 years ago. The jungle digitally stripped away, the city emerged in its full glory, bustling and vibrant with streets, plazas, and pathways stretching through the heart of it all. It was as if the city had risen from the past. The breakthrough was undeniable. The technology had cracked open a lost world, revealing the blueprint of a civilization. Now, with this success behind them, the team was ready for more. The entire valley was waiting to be scanned, and if there were other Tairona cities buried beneath the jungle, LiDAR would find them. The possibility of finding more valleys. The Sierra Nevada mountains loomed ahead, their snow-capped peaks reaching for the sky. Below, the dense jungle stretched out. Now the team's mission was clear: uncover what lay beneath the canopy, but there was one major challenge. The LiDAR scanner, essential for their search, was too heavy for a drone to carry. Helicopters had already been making regular supply runs to Ciudad Perdida, so the team came up with a plan: use the helicopter's flight path to carry the scanner. With the equipment in place, they set off, sending pulse after pulse of data deep into the jungle below. Each pulse brought them one step closer to unlocking the mysteries hidden beneath the thick foliage. Then, something remarkable happened. At the entrance of Ciudad Perdida, the team discovered a rock, etched with strange radiating lines, almost like a map. But this was no ordinary rock. It was bigger, more intricate, and the patterns seemed to mirror the layout of Ciudad Perdida itself. Could it be the key to finding more hidden cities in the valley? Santiago's instincts told him it was. They compared the rock's design with the LiDAR data. At first, nothing seemed to match.
We've got to put boots on the ground and head out there and see for ourselves whether there's terracing and walls and just man-made structures. That's where pixels become reality.
But after some adjustments, the patterns clicked into place. The map wasn't just a random shape, it was a clue. The jungle had just revealed its first secret. The team was electrified. The discovery hinted at more ancient cities buried under the dense jungle. Albert and Santiago's ambitions drive them. Further back at Ciudad Perdida, the team led by Albert and Santiago were glued to the screens, processing the staggering number of data points the LiDAR scanner had gathered. Slowly, a hidden world started to emerge from the mountains. As they zoomed in, new shapes began to take form, paths, terraces, and structures that had been buried for centuries.
Okay, so this is the Sierra Nevada range?
Yeah, this is the northern portion. You can see it goes from the Caribbean up to snow caps pretty quickly.
Then their eyes locked on something incredible. In the distance, a ridgeline appeared perfectly flat, standing out starkly against the rugged terrain. This could be it, an undiscovered Tyrona city, long lost to time but now revealed through this groundbreaking technology. The thrill was undeniable, but excitement alone wouldn't be enough. The data was just a map. It couldn't confirm what lay in the jungle. To bring the mystery to life, Albert and Santiago knew they had to verify what the LiDAR had found. They needed to venture out, put boots on the ground, and see if the flat ridgeline was truly the site of a lost city. The journey began on an ancient Tyrona path, the first stage of a much longer and tougher trek. Armed with machetes, the team would hack their way through the dense jungle, cutting through thick vines and tangled undergrowth. The steep climb ahead would take them up 700 feet, a grueling vertical ascent that promised to test their limits. Santiago checked the equipment, making sure they had enough machetes to get through the dense underbrush. With 4 machetes for the crew, they'd need to take turns. The data map showed their current altitude, 3,366 feet, but their destination was much higher, an isolated plateau that could hold the key to this forgotten city. The climb was grueling, each step feeling like an endless battle against the jungle. The path, if you could even call it that, was a steep, unforgiving incline, the ground shifting beneath their feet with every move. The air grew thicker with each step and sweat streamed down their faces. The stakes couldn't be higher. One wrong move, one hidden snake, and it could be over. But the team didn't flinch. They pressed on, driven by the promise of discovery.
A lot of the crew had already gotten hurt. Our sound recordist had already popped a few ribs out of his rib cage, falling down the side of this mountain.
Then, out of nowhere, Santiago's voice broke through the struggle. "I found something." The words electrified the air. A shard of pottery, ancient and half buried in the dirt. Then another and another. Each piece was a small victory, proof that they were on the right track. Their excitement was palpable. The hunt was on. These weren't just pieces of clay, they were signs of life, tangible evidence that Tyrona ancestors had once walked this land. The team quickened their pace, fueled by newfound energy. Each discovery, another shard, another clue, brought them closer to their goal. But the plateau they'd seen on the LiDAR scans still felt far above them, taunting them from the ridgeline. The climb was getting steeper, the jungle even more unforgiving. But they couldn't stop now, they were so close. The plateau was within reach, and with it the chance to uncover something monumental, the long-lost Tyrona city. They weren't just climbing a mountain anymore, they were climbing toward history. The true test, though, was still ahead. But with every step, they were one step closer to the ultimate discovery. Then it happened. Santiago's eyes locked onto something that stopped him in his tracks, a piece of cut stone unmistakably carved, half buried in the dirt. It was a piece of Tyrona architecture, a marker of their skilled craftsmanship. The excitement hit like a jolt. This was no random rock. This was the Tyrona, a clue that the civilization they were hunting for was right beneath their feet. Santiago motioned for the team to gather around. They followed the trail it seemed to hint at, cutting through the thick jungle. With each step, the anticipation built. Finally, it appeared, another piece of cut stone, slightly different, but just as unmistakable. The trail was growing clearer. The stones weren't scattered randomly, they were placed deliberately. Eventually, the pieces began to form a picture, one that screamed of human design. Maybe a terrace, maybe a platform, but definitely something man-made. Santiago's heart pounded. They pressed on, scanning the area for more. another stone fragment, then another. Every find pushed the team further into excitement. This was the confirmation they needed. The LiDAR scans hadn't just been a map, they had uncovered a hidden world.
Stone after stone after stone. Yeah, we got another one over here.
You got another one?
Yeah, we got another rock over here. Yeah.
I think we found it.
The jungle might have swallowed it whole, but with every discovery, the site was coming back to them. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.